Hey. Hey, James, how are you today?
I'm good. Hey, Cheryl.
Thanks for jumping on this call with me to just talk about the mindfulness and self-compassion courses that you've attended through UCSD.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So I think one of my first questions is really talking about, some of your challenges around burnout in the workplace that you've had that has even brought you to take some of these courses.
Yeah. So for me, a lot of it kind of built up over time and then was also related to a specific role that I was in. And the overtime piece is that I came to realize that I sort of went to grad school and sprinted. And then I had a role and sprinted. And then I had another role and sprinted. And then I started a company and sprinted. And 15, 20 years later, after I had started my company, it kind of reached a point where um, the company was going through some tough challenges. Some things had happened where, for instance, suppliers had failed to deliver in a big way, um, and then at the same time, the partnership dynamic in the company that I started had led to a variety of interpersonal conflicts and things. And I began to be disillusioned with the nature of the company's operations. It was one of those situations where I felt that we had started a company to do one thing, and then due to a lot of very valid reasons, we ended up doing another thing, and I just wasn't very passionate about the other thing, and so this ended up exhibiting in a lot of exhaustion, reluctance to go to work. It didn't matter how long of a vacation I took, I still didn't want to go back. I would I mean, it's terrible to say, but I would park in the parking lot in the morning and sit in the car for 20 minutes because I just couldn't bear to go inside. Um, so I had this disillusionment and this sense of inefficacy, this sense that, like, okay, no matter what I do, it's not going to rectify these things that I'm struggling with. Um, and it took me a long time. I mean, this went on for like 2 or 3 years, without me really being aware of what was wrong. But in the meantime, at home and in my personal life, I was reactive, irritable, not the person that I wanted to be. So it was a strange cocktail of, stuff that built up over time, and then um, it was hard to see in practice,
Mm.
for quite some time.
Yeah. Thank you, James. Thank you for sharing that with me. It sounds like it was a very challenging experience at work. So I'm curious to hear from you how the mindfulness, the mindful based stress reduction, the self compassion resources that you learned, how that would support you in these times of burnout or, these challenging situations that you face with the uncertainty and change that we are constantly experiencing in this business landscape.
Yeah, I do think that it helps a lot. And I think it would have helped in a variety of ways. And I'm maybe 6 months into my journey on the mindfulness side, but it's really helped me be a little bit more aware of what's happening. And I do think if I had this practice earlier, it might not have been 3 years of burnout before I finally, just got to a breaking point. I might have been able to be aware of what was happening earlier and perhaps take some steps to address it. Um, in the meantime, I think that had I had the mindfulness practice during these situations, I would have been able to give it a little bit more space as well, be a little bit more tolerant of the situation, and kind of say, okay, we totally got hosed by this supplier. I'm deeply personally invested and angry in this, but let's just sit with that and allow it and have some space. Same with things with interpersonal conflicts, maybe um, just not taking things quite so personally. And then the last thing that I think could have really helped is that the mindfulness has helped with reactivity and irritability and things, and given me a way to kind of stay centered and grounded in the present moment and in what I feel in my body. Um, and I think that could have helped both me and my family during this period, because it's like, okay, all hell's breaking loose at work. This is not good, but let's leave it there instead of bringing it home and kind of having it stewing inside me every minute of every day.
Thank you, James. And then finally, my last question is, what was your experience working with me as a facilitator? Could you relate to my style and the way I presented the materials? Uh, how was that for you? What was your experience like?
It's been great. And, Cheryl, you were there in my MBSR course. And then you were there for the mindful self-compassion intensive and the retreat. So it's like I've seen you every step along the way. And it's been really wonderful. I think your background with mindfulness and your retreat practice kind of gives you uh, a strong sense of authority to be able to speak about these subjects, but then your career background in the corporate world and with finance really gives you a lens to see, what does this look like for a business person or a professional in the corporate world, and how do these mindfulness practices apply in that context? And that was really helpful.
Thank you so much, James. Thank you for showing up today to give this testimonial. I'm going to stop recording.